Good morning, Salem-Wood 5th grade. This is Mr. Ashola, and this is today's video on dividing fractions. So when dividing fractions, the first thing you want to pay attention to is you want to start with the number that the problem is starting with. So in this particular case, in example 1, it is 2. So we're going to start by drawing two holes, a picture of two holes. 1, 2. And this is saying, well, let's break these two things up. How many 1/3 can fit inside? So that means we have to break it up into thirds. So 3 equal pieces, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So if I count these up, I notice that altogether there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As a matter of fact, we can see that there are 2 holes, and in each one there are 3/3, which means the answer is 6. So 2 divided by 1/3 equals 6. Because there are 6 1/3 pieces in 2 holes. So if we go on to the next one, again, we're going to start by looking at that very first number, which is 3. And we're going to draw that 3. We're going to draw 3 holes. 1, 2, 3. And then it's saying that we need to break these up into fourths. So each one of them is going to get 4 equal pieces. 4, 4, 4. So each one of these is 1/4. Because 1/4 means that you took one whole and you broke it into 4 equal pieces, and that's one of them. So now we want to count up how many fourths are there in 3 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 altogether. We see that there are 3 holes, and in each hole there are 4 equal pieces for 12 altogether. So 3 divided by 1/4 equals 12. Now let's look at the bottom part. Again, you want to start by saying, okay, I'm going to draw the first number. So this says we need to draw 1/3. So in order to draw 1/3, we have to start by drawing a hole. So this is 1 hole. And we want to draw 1/3. So this is 1/3. Now this is saying I'm going to take that third, and what am I going to do to it? I'm going to divide it into 2 equal pieces, or cut it in half. Right? Divide it into 2 equal pieces. So if I take that third and I cut it into 2 equal pieces, well, then we need to ask ourselves, well, then what's the size of that? Well, it is 1 piece in the total of 6 pieces, or 1/6. That blue piece is just 1/6 of the original whole. But also to notice that this is also a picture of multiplying fractions. This is also the same as 1/3 times 1/2, which equals 1/6. So just like in whole numbers, multiplication and division are very much related. They just change a little bit. But again, 1/3 divided by 2 equals 1/6. All right, well, let's do this next problem. And it says I have to start by, and I think I wrote that excuse me. I wrote that problem wrong, so let me start that one again. We should be doing 1/4 divided by 3. So I'm going to start by drawing a picture of 1/4. So I'm going to draw my hole and cut it into fourths. 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. So each of those is 1/4. Now it's saying, well, what happens if you take that fourth and you break it into 3 equal pieces? Right? 1, 2, 3. We want to know, well, what's the size of one of those pieces? Well, there are now 12 total pieces in this picture, and that blue is only one of them. So that blue is 1/12 of the whole thing. 1/12 of the whole thing. Well, again, this picture is very much like what we did when we multiplied fractions, right? If we look on this side is your 1/3, and that side is your 1/4. So 1/4 times 1/3 also equals 1/12. So again, that connection between multiplication and division that we even saw above. So the last thing I want to talk about is what makes this hard for a lot of students. First, what makes it hard is conceptually it's very different than a lot of what we've done, dividing fractions. You have to think about it in terms of the pictures and what they stand for. The second thing is, if you notice, 2 in this first problem, 2 divided by 1/3 and 1/3 divided by 2 look very similar to each other. And even their answers, 6 and 1/6, look similar to each other. But there are different problems with different answers, and you have to be able to tell the difference between them. The same thing with these two. 3 divided by 1/4 equals 12. 1/4 divided by 3 equals 1/12. There is that connection between the two, which in some ways makes it easier, but in some ways it makes it also easier to mix them up. So this just means you have to practice, practice, practice to be able to tell the difference between the two. You're going to have 6 questions on the Google form today. Don't forget your extra math, and have a wonderful Thursday.